Professor Stephen Krashen, it's really an honor for us to have you here today. And we would like actually to ask you a couple of questions about your experience and your opinion about the Saudi market when it comes to education. So how do you rate education in general in Saudi Arabia?
I am quite optimistic about Saudi Arabia. From what I've seen so far, I've seen a great deal of dedication. I've seen a great deal of sophistication among teachers, among administrators, and most important, there is a receptivity to new ideas. In other words, people are listening to me and I love it. I'm getting a lot of difficult questions from people here, challenging, all excellent. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm optimistic about this organization. We know, everybody knows English, English, English everywhere. Okay, we know English is the lingua franca. We have to do it. We all need English for academic purposes. There's no argument with this, and we need the help of English Times and organizations like this. I do have some suggestions, and I think the suggestions are not revolutionary. I think they're the direction that English Times is going in anyway. So let me help you along the way if I possibly can. Number one, our research agrees with the intuitions of many of the people here. The big factor in language education is reading. And I don't mean any kind of reading, I mean reading for pleasure. Sitting down, reading a book, and being lost in the book and following the story. This, we have found, is the most important tool we have in first language and second language education. In fact, we think it is a necessary step toward academic language. You absolutely must go through this. When you do, when you've read 200, 300 easy books on your own that you love, you're then prepared for the harder things. So, and again, the people I've spoken with have already pretty much agreed with this, even without all my fancy research. If we're going to do this, we need access to books. We need libraries. And by libraries, I mean libraries with books you can pick up and hold. I mean electronic libraries as well. I think the future is very bright with Kindles, ebooks, all these things. So we must use all of this, all the tools we have. And again, this is not only an effective way, it's an easy way and a pleasant way. So this is my number one point I'd like to share with you. Number two, there is a worldwide tendency, and English Times is aware of this, toward increasing testing. And unfortunately, the United States has been one of the leaders with the new Common Core standards. We have been testing children more than we ever have in the history of the world, and this is spreading. Despite research that shows that increasing testing does not increase language proficiency. It's reading that does it and actual language use. So my suggestion is that we follow a principle. The principle is NUT, no unnecessary testing. The real experts in evaluation, we see in study after study, are the teachers. And I've seen your teachers, and they know what they're doing, there's no question. So I want to reduce testing. I don't want to get rid of all testing. We all understand the necessity of assessment, but we want to make sure we're not doing more than necessary. Number three, I want to share with you my concern, which is worldwide. The spread of English has been a two-edged sword. It's been wonderful. Poland can talk to Saudi Arabia, and they do it in English. Japan can talk to Egypt, and they do it in English. This has made things possible. It's been wonderful. The other side of this is the real danger of the weakening of first languages. We have these very rich cultures and very rich literatures that I think in a few hundred years are going to be in big trouble. I already have colleagues in other countries, including colleagues here, who do all their work in English, and when it's time to work in the first language, there's some hesitancy. They're not really quite used to it. They're more used to doing it in English. So I think we have to protect the first language, and here's the good news. This is win-win. The better we have first language development, the better the English development. A solid foundation in the first language means you know more about the world, means you can use the tool of writing to solve problems in any language, and English language education is going to get better. So I'm equally concerned, for example, in Saudi Arabia, I'm equally concerned with the future of Arabic language instruction as I am with English language instruction. If you're concerned about English, you must be concerned about the first language, and I have seen this happen in many, many countries. So English Times is also Arabic Times. It's for all of this. And we now know that if we use the first language correctly in classes, we can use it to help. We use the first language when the English in the class needs to be more comprehensible. We can use it for help, for background knowledge, not a lecture all period in English, in Arabic about English grammar, but sometimes for help. Dr. Frawley, who works here at Education Experts, understands this, and he has the idea of having elementary levels of English taught by bilinguals who speak Arabic fluently. So if necessary, they can supply that help. And the English monolinguals, the new people, teach the more advanced levels.
Brilliant.
So let me summarize my points. Reading, 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 libraries, 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 of course.
So your main focus is like on reading and libraries more than even like the standard or the typical one, which is having like tests and
Right.
so you're like, you have your philosophy in teaching, and I've heard about it before, that it's mainly on reducing the test. What do you mean by that? And what is the alternative on how to assess and how to know and evaluate?
Right. Right. Well, I have to repeat something. I agree. I think we need assessment. Of course we do. Absolutely. But we don't need so many standardized, expensive tests to do it.
Give us an example.
The best assessment, according to the research, is teacher evaluation. Several studies done back in the United States. What is the best predictor of university success? If you have teacher evaluation, that is the best predictor, and adding test scores adds nothing.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Adds nothing. So it's the teacher evaluation. We want someone who knows the students, who's with the student every day, who's a professional educator, and that's much better than a test made by someone in an office,
Beautiful.
200 kilometers away, who has never spent a day alone in a classroom with 100 students. So the research supports what I'm saying.
Beautiful. Here we come, like, because we've been speaking about education here in Saudi Arabia and teaching English as a second language. Could you give us like a little bit of a brief about the institutions in here, specifically about English Times Institution, and how it's like helping in the development of,
Yes.
of English as a second language?
Well, this is where the progress is being made right now. The progress, this is where the new information is coming. This is where scientific research can be carried out. So it's a laboratory, and it's a place where we can take advantage of the intuitions of professionals to improve policy and education. So institutions such as English Times are absolutely crucial, can be extremely helpful. We can do things that we cannot do in traditional institutions, much more flexibility. So I've worked with many institutions of this type, and I think they're extremely valuable.
Interesting. So in your opinion, how is the English Times syllabus or the teachers in terms of quality education?
The syllabus needs some improvement, my friend. The syllabus
You have an
needs...
issue with the syllabus itself?
Oh yes. I have an issue with all syllabi.
So you're anti-traditional
No.
methodologies of teaching?
Our research, I'm a prisoner of the research. I'm a prisoner, I cannot change the research. This is not my opinion. I'm forced into this opinion by research studies over the last 35 years. The traditional grammatical syllabus doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It
As
never,
simple as that.
it never has worked. No one has ever acquired a language by studying grammar, by memorizing vocabulary. We have acquired language in one way, and that's by understanding what people tell us, understanding what we read, and we get a feel for grammar. This is where it comes, and we build vocabulary, especially through reading. Now, with English Times, if you talk to teachers, they will tell you the same thing. It's the teachers who need to be part of the decision-making on syllabi.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So, in very brief, how can we avoid failure?
Let me give you a
As
new
an
idea.
educational,
Let me give you a new idea of avoiding failure. Books and libraries. If students become dedicated pleasure readers, and they have books all around them, and they're reading constantly in English and Arabic, they cannot fail. They cannot score low on any language examination. They will write well, they will read well, they will have enormous vocabularies.
Allow me to interrupt, Dr. Stephen, but as you know that right now the new generation is totally different than before, and they are really focused on the things that have something to do with interactivity, internet, technology. So when you focus a lot about books, you're actually saying the right thing, but at the same time, is it the way to get and make the students to do it, or there's actually a better way to
You
make
know,
them read?
the students and the language acquirers are the ones who really understand technology and do it right. I just finished a study with a man named Hugh Jarvis in the UK, and it's his data that we used for the analysis. And we looked at how ESL, EFL students use technology when they use it in English. They don't use it for traditional language instruction. They don't use it for grammar drill. They don't use it for vocabulary programs. They use it for reading, they use it for interaction, they use it for Facebook, which means lots of writing, lots of reading. They use it in all the ways that help language acquisition. So I think technology is going to be our best friend.
Beautiful. As Dr. Frawley said, and he's the manager, as you know, of English Times Project, he said that we don't want an institution that teaches English, period. No. We want an institution to change the way people think of English as a second language. It's going to be an institute that is not only in Saudi Arabia, not only in the GCC area, but all over the world. So, based on your research and based on what you've seen, what do you think of English Times and how we can have it to be in the top?
Yeah, I think Dr. Frawley is absolutely correct. It's more than English. Look at it this way. English language acquisition happens when you're reading something interesting and listening to something interesting. Most people are not interested in language, not like language teachers. Most people are not interested in reading because it's good for you. Most people are interested in the content. If you have interesting ideas, stimulating discussions, really good books, and this is regular books, electronic books, then intellectual development will happen regardless. So this is the product of getting people involved in interesting projects and problem solving. And this is why Dr. Frawley is right. English Times becomes the center, not just of English, but of necessity becomes the center for intellectual development and the spread, discussion, creation of new ideas.
Beautiful, Dr. Stephen. And by the end, I would love to hear from you, since you've been all over the world and since you are actually considered to be the guru of English in the whole world as a second language. We would like to hear some statement about Arabic language and how, because you've mentioned something very interesting. You've said you get to learn English, but at the same time you get to protect your language.
Not only protect, but develop.
And develop. Interesting.
Yes, this has been a problem worldwide, as you know. And there are great languages and great cultures throughout the world, and they all deserve our protection. Probably one of the easiest ones to defend is Arabic, because of the rich, incredibly rich literature, tradition, poetry, religion. There's so much there. We must make sure that this stays, and so much is available only in Arabic. And not everything is going to be translated in English, and we lose a great deal in translation. So I'm quite concerned about this. We are all in favor of the continued development of first language, protection of the value and culture of the first language.
Dr. Stephen, many thanks. It was really an honor for us to have you here.
My pleasure, sir.